Member Stories. My name is Faizan Sayed. I am the Member Experience Director for the Mepa region. I run a digital marketing agency called East River. And today we have a member from Lebanon. Jad Khoury is a member who just joined EO less than a year ago. And he already sees the value in a market in a country that has been through a lot. And he's going to talk to us about his experience and what brought him to EO and what has he gained in within the last year. Jad is actually in the medical supplies business. They create medical supplies and equipment using plastics, and they export to over 100 countries around the world. Jad, how are you today?
How are you, Faizan? Thank you for having me, and thank you for the wonderful introduction.
So Jad, tell me, Lebanon, it's been through so much, and somehow you ended up finding this EO community. How did you find the community, and how has it helped you in the last year? Because we've all read about what your market has been through, and I'm sure that a community like this can really serve a purpose in a market like yours.
Lebanon is quite unique. I think you've all heard about the situation, what's happening, what's been going on with the banks, with our currency, with the devaluation and everything. But despite it all, we have great talents in this country. And I was approached by one of the EO members in Lebanon, and who's a very good friend of mine. And he kept on telling me, you know what, Jad, join EO. It's a good place for networking. It's a good place where people have similar problems that you have. Uh, it was a platform where we could discuss things that we could not discuss internally within the company.
Mm-hmm.
And I went for a first meeting with the chapter, and we directly saw that even though each member comes from a different background, we have a lot of similar problems and similar things. And it was very interesting for me to see how different sectors and different people were handling the same problem, looking at it in the same way.
And you've had interesting problems. I mean, money in itself has had different values in the bank, outside the bank, moving cash in and out, moving people in and out. I mean, Lebanon's been through a lot. Um, were you dealing with all of this differently before you joined EO? And did EO give a change in perspective in how you dealt with a lot of these challenges?
Well, when the crisis started, I was not a member of EO, so we had to go with our gut feeling. We had to look at what we believed was right and what we believed was wrong. But then sitting there with the members and discussing this openly with everyone else, we did get a different perspective. I personally saw things in a different way. You would see how some members were more affected than others depending on what sector they were in.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely hearing what other smart and brilliant people would do if they were in your shoes,
Mm-hmm.
objectively, without any judgment,
Mm-hmm.
opens your eyes. We did change part of what we were doing, to be honest.
You did.
Yeah.
Interesting. And what were the challenges? Can you just walk us through, for those maybe not as familiar, what were some of the major challenges you were facing as a businessman in Lebanon?
Well, we woke up one day and we could not access our bank accounts. So all the money in our banks were blocked.
Wow.
We lost all of the overdraft facilities we had. So you can imagine we were a factory, we had a big line of credit, we were able to buy raw material on credit. We had to pay that now upfront.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to pay that not from our current bank account, but from what we collect from the market, because our current bank account was blocked. And to keep the relationship with the distributors around the world, we had to continue giving them the same credit that we used to do before. So
That
that was
must
a
be a
very,
huge
very
challenge.
tough problem for us.
And and you noticed different people were dealing with the same problem differently.
That's right, depending on the type of business. So some people, for example, had businesses that were full of cash, like
Mm-hmm.
retail stores and supermarkets. This kind of business was generating cash on daily basis, so they
Mm-hmm.
reacted in a different way than others. Whereas we are B2B, so we never see the cash, but we get transfers after so many days,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the contracts we have with our distributors. So it was different. We looked at it from different angles,
And
and
did it give EO members a chance to work together, work with each other to help each other out through their business challenges?
some members had done that because their lines of business would work together.
Right.
Um, Unfortunately for us, we are a niche business, so
Mm-hmm.
we do not have a lot of people in our sector in the country. Uh, but a lot of members did offer us to introduce us to international banks and international lenders so that we would be able to open a bank account outside the country, and this would give us like a window to breathe there. So it was
Interesting.
very, very helpful.
So you think you've gotten your money's worth out of your EO subscription?
More, much more.
Oh, you got much more. Wow.
Yes.
Interesting. And have you embarked on the path of leadership during this time? I mean, I know that there's a lot going on out there, and I know your chapter's been through challenges, but have you got onto the board, or are you looking at jumping on the board and getting onto the path of leadership?
Um, that's a very good question. I was asked if I would like to be part of the board early on. And I told them that I would like to be a member for at least a year just to be an effective member on the board. I find it difficult to be new and on the board at the same time, so I wouldn't bring any added value to the board.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, no, every member will bring an added value, but I just prefer to um, have a step back, be a member, see how things are, and then think about being on the board.
And that's a good way to go. Get your feet wet before you jump into the pool entirely. I think that's not a bad approach. And in this journey, you talked a lot about business. Did EO end up having an impact on your personal life or your family life? Because those are the three areas. Well, there's four areas. There's even community that you get to learn about and focus on. But how did you take some of what you learned in EO through your forum and affect, let's say, the way you handled your personal life or your family life?
EO has a very good structure, and uh, well, the thing about forum is very nice. You can really put that in your life. So what we did is now in our family, we kind of have something similar to forum where we only discuss family issues at home. And being
Oh,
part of a
nice.
family business, uh, you know, sometimes you get to talk about work at home, and now that's not allowed. Work is at work, and
And you learned this
family
from
is at home.
EO.
I learned this from EO. We were trying to get it happening before EO,
Right.
but on Sunday lunches and y- some part of work used to come up. But I said, listen, if a big multinational organization can do it, we can do it as a family. You want to
Right.
talk on Sunday about work? Let's all go to the office and we'll have a meeting on Sunday. It's not an issue.
Right. Right.
Just not at home.
Interesting. And does the reverse apply as well? No family talk at work.
Exactly. Exactly.
Interesting. And how many kids or family, what's your family structure like?
I personally have three kids. And as a company, as Plastilab, we are three brothers in the company,
Hmm.
and each of us has their own kids. So it's a bigger family.
Interesting. So it can be very challenging working in a family environment. And I think that's one of the great values of EO. It actually, for family businesses, it helps provide the kind of structure that a family business sometimes misses out on as it grows. And I think that the forum structure, the board structure, the way the meetings are run, all of those things are templates that you can actually bring back to your businesses and apply very easily and really sort of create impact. And so, as you're thinking of your EO journey, where do you see yourself with EO in the next 5 years?
I see myself being on the EO. I'm not thinking of stopping my membership. I would definitely like to have a leadership role, being member of the board, trying to give to EO from my experience. We have brilliant members in our chapter, some of whom have experience in the region, some of whom have experience worldwide. I would like to add the experience we have and try to give to other members what I'm getting from EO.
Amazing. And is it safe to visit Lebanon at this point? Because a lot of members really want
Definitely,
to get back there.
definitely, it's always safe to visit Lebanon. Lebanon is a
Interesting.
friendly country, and we have our political problems, but the
Right.
people are friendly. Even when things are not that nice, the people are friendly.
No, I have to say, one of the most memorable events that, and I quote this story often, one of the most memorable events that I've had in EO is the MLS in Lebanon. And I remember that in the middle of our 3 day stay there, the riots really picked up. And they were happening right outside the hotel. And somehow I have to give it to the board of the chapter that was really involved in hosting us. They proceeded with the functions, and there was a function at the bunker. We went in, it was underground, and we had no idea what was happening around us. We emerged 4 hours later from this bunker late at night, and suddenly we see riots and burning tires, and everyone freaked out and said, "Oh my God, we're stuck in a war zone." And I remember I was really hungry. I was like, okay, we're in a war zone, but I'm still hungry. We need to grab something to eat. And so we jumped into a cab and we pulled up next to a rioter. And I asked a rioter, I said, hey, listen, I'm starving. I need a shawarma. Can you point us in the right direction? And there were people getting freaked out, like, oh, there's rioters, and you're talking to rioters. And the rioters were so friendly. They're like, of course. And they actually escorted us to one of the best shawarmas we've had. We ended up hanging out with them, understood the situation, and we realized that it's such an interesting place. It's got so many challenges, but the people are so friendly that even in the midst of all of that, there was no violence. In fact, we remember seeing the videos, and some of the members even participated in the parties that were happening in the middle of the riots on the streets. And I think, had it not been for EO, none of us members who had actually made it out there would have experienced any of this firsthand and understood the culture that Lebanon had to offer. So
Yeah,
that to me is the power of EO right there.
yeah.
So thanks a lot, Jad. This was great. I just wanted to have a quick chat with you to learn about what you do and how your first year has been. We always love having members from Lebanon come and get engaged. It is a chapter that everyone gets excited hearing about, a chapter that everyone wants to visit. And it's always a pleasure meeting members from that chapter. So thank you for the time. And hopefully we'll
Thank
see
you.
you on the path of leadership, not just in your chapter board, but in the region as well.
Thank you very much, Faizan, for this opportunity, and I look forward to it.
Great. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Stay tuned for more member stories coming up after this one. Bye bye.